Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy, they are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny, listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Hello and welcome to episode 92 of the Jeff Van Gundy NBA Tribute Show. I'm one of your hosts, Marco, here with one of my other hosts, Lucas. How are you, Lucas?
Hi, Mike. I'm good. How are you?
You know, Lucas, I'm over the moon, to borrow a phrase.
Oh, well, straight into it?
I'm absolutely going. No, we won't get straight into it.
Okay.
But I'm sure our listeners can discern why I might be over the moon.
How are our levels looking?
They're looking pretty good.
Okay, cool. I was a little concerned after my scream at the start.
Oh, yeah. Don't just ignore that.
Oh, we'll get it in post.
Yeah, we'll get it in post, exactly. But more importantly, how are you, Lucas?
Marco. I'm glad you asked. So I think my last run was my first run.
Mm-hmm.
My run before the one I did tonight was the first one I did, which was episode something. I think maybe our first video pod.
Yeah, it was episode 90, I want to say.
Yeah,
or 89 rather.
Yeah, whichever one it was.
So that was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And Cash 10K took a little bit of a hiatus, but I've gone on another run, no runners high. I've been out for 30 minutes twice now. That's an hour total. You theorize maybe you need to be running for 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, that was a stab in the dark.
Yeah, I know, but like still.
Yeah.
Why? That doesn't make any sense at all. Surely runners high is like a tolerance-based thing, much like anything else. So like my first run, I should get it 5 minutes in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But you know how they say like, like the first few times you do heroin, it's like not addictive at all.
Yeah.
And then like, the fifth time you do it, you're like, oh wow, I like need that again.
Right. So we have 4 free trials, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I'm saying maybe it's similar with running, where it's like by the fifth one, you're like, fuck, I like just absolutely, I get like, you get the first high, and then your tolerance builds up as you run and you run and you run and you run.
Okay.
I also think that like exercise might not work like recreational drugs.
Yeah, but it is recreational.
True. That's very fair. That's very fair. But yeah, I feel like it takes me like 2 weeks of going to the gym to like leave the gym and be like, oh wow, I'm really happy with that. You know, usually I'm like, ugh, I'm so weak and tired.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, after 2 weeks of doing it consistently, I'm like, I feel really good. I want to go run a marathon now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I get my runner's high.
I feel like my my vibe with the gym is the most toxic when I'm doing the least toxic things at the gym, and it's the least toxic when I'm doing the most toxic things at the gym. Or should I say, what society has told me is the most toxic things at the gym.
Okay.
Like the bicep curls, they come when I'm just like, yeah, I want some muscles. But like the squats, the deadlifts, that comes when I like see Montrez dunk on 2 people from a dunker spot, and I'm like, I need to be like that person.
Yeah.
Which, it's a little conflicting because like, who do I look to? Where do I get support from?
I did leave in Ivanica being like, wow, every guy here like just works biceps, but like in a good way.
Oh.
You know, like they looked good.
Yeah, right.
They weren't like, man, it's so funny. Like you see a juice head at a festival who's just like shreds, goes to gym 6 days a week, and you're like, fuck, I never want to look like that. I never want to look like that. And then you see like some fucking private school kid who does bicep curls 3 days a week, and you're like, that's the hottest thing ever. Like that's exactly how I want my arms to look.
Yeah. Was that last weekend? The one I mean last weekend?
Yeah, I guess so.
Damn.
Like not this weekend just gone, but the one before it.
Yeah, the last time people caught us on YouTube.
Yeah. Ding. Well, speaking of catching us places, you can actually catch Lukas on the Deep 2 this week.
Oh yeah, I'm on the Deep 2 this week.
He's written a beautiful little storyline preview of this upcoming WNBA season, talking us through, you know, who are the players, the teams, the stories to watch this year. Do you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, well, without giving up too much.
You don't want to do that.
I previewed 4 different teams who I think have the most interesting stories. Not only like what they're trying to achieve, but also they've got really interesting characters on their teams, being the Seattle Storm, the New York Liberty, the Connecticut Sun, Oh my god. Oh, and of course the Los Angeles Sparks. And then also talked about Brittany Griner's situation, which we've talked about before on the pod, being detained in Russia. Still detained in Russia for a couple more weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love, again, without giving too much, I love the point you make about being like, if they just paid WNBA players properly, then she wouldn't be in this situation. Yeah.
And also the point you made last time we were talking about is like there must be another side of this we don't see. But if there's all this like, oh well, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of details. But like, what more do they have to do, man? Like if they've won 9 of the last 10 gold medals at the Olympics, and that margin is like the margin of their victories is getting more and more exponential as time goes on. Like, what more do they have to do? Watch them. Just watch them.
Yeah.
It's basketball.
Yeah. And watch them this season.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of basketball, Jesus, you catch any of the games this weekend?
So many of them.
Well, one stood out to me.
Which one was that one, Marco?
Oh man, the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm gonna have a little bit of a, not a tirade, but a little bit of a story time.
Tirade?
Let's call it. I feel like I went into this playoffs. I went into the play-in, kind of like how I imagine you went into the play-in in the playoffs last year. Where it's like, all right, I'm not really expecting anything out of this. Like, let's just get some experience for the young guys and enjoy the ride. In our play-in preview episode, I predicted that we'd lose to the San Antonio Spurs. And, I think my refrain was, we're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
The Pelicans players were not just happy to be there. Like, they've gone into every game with such a winning attitude. And, although they were 2 kind of close games, they really blitzed the play-in. And I don't think it really hit me until Monday, leaving Dante Boffa's house in West Brunswick. The address is beep, beep, beep. And, it was this beautiful sunny day. I was wearing my Brandon Ingram City Edition 2021 jersey. The sun was hitting my not-so-big biceps. And I was like, oh my God, we're playing in the playoffs. And, we're not just there. We're not just passengers. We're actually playing to win. And, more than that, we're 2-2 up against the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
The best team in the league. And, it's so easy to be like, okay, maybe Phoenix have been a bit off these games. Devin Booker's injured. They've been shooting poorly. But we're playing really good. We're playing like a legit playoff level basketball team. And I feel like every game bar the first 2 quarters of the first game, it's felt like we could win any game this series. And I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked that we began this season 1 of 12. I've tried to keep my expectations absolutely bottom the entire year. And now I'm like, oh my God, we might go 3-2 up at home against the Phoenix Suns tomorrow.
Yeah, SKC will be bumping as well.
It will be bumping.
I think that Game 4 is the chip for the New Orleans Pelicans.
Right.
I think, because not only Booker's out, I actually don't care.
Yeah.
They still have Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Monty Williams, and the rest of the team that made the finals last season. And it's not like you won and they lost. It was like you won and you made them lose. GTA got his sneak steal on CP3 after he got waved off in game 1 or 2 or whenever it was. But this is why I've been harping on, or harken. Do you hark or do you harp on?
You can do either. I'd say harp. Yeah.
I was harping on. You got to get the 8th seed and get smashed by the 1 seed, because also something like this could happen. And it's like, where can you replicate what happened in Game 4?
Yeah.
You can't replicate that anywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone that played for you guys, barring Jackson Hayes as always, did so much to help the team win. They all individually and together. And what was it, a 15-point win in the end?
Yeah.
That's a massive win.
It was 4 minutes of garbage time. We got Aaron Holiday hitting. He had 10 consecutive points at the end of the game.
He had 10.
Like that. It was ridiculous.
Did he also have a tech foul?
Yeah, and he got a tech after because Jose was mouthing off to him. But yeah, it was a resounding win, and it was off contributions from everyone. Obviously, BI had 30 points. He didn't get a bucket in the 4th quarter.
Oh, wow.
He had 30 in the first 3 quarters, and then I think he missed 4 or 5 shots in the last quarter. But it didn't matter. We still won that quarter by 5 points. JV, I think, you can't say that he matched up against Aiden in this game because although he was beating him in offense, Aiden just got any shot that he liked, and it was just an absolute shock that they weren't going to more. And actually, I want to talk about that in a bit. And then, man, you sound so first take for saying it, but the rookies, Jose Alvarado and Herb Jones probably spent the most time guarding Chris Paul between them out of any other Pelican. Like, Herb was our first option on him. But then, yeah, to trust this two-way guy, this 1.5 mil a year guy, you know, this guy who has only been in the NBA for about 4 months, to guard Chris Paul, the like least turnovers-y point guard ever, and to force him into what? He got 2 steals on him, and he got that 8-second violation.
Yeah.
And
By the way, it was like the 5th 8-second violation.
It was. But he made it so obvious. Like he had him like 10 feet behind the halfway line, and he wasn't budging.
That celebration video just gets better. Like they blow the whistle, he turns to the ref like that, and then. And then this celebratory scream comes after.
Yeah, and then doing that same flex when he got the backcourt steal on him while he's still running towards the basket.
Yeah.
It was just so good. And yeah, like Herb, obviously like 3 massive blocks, that steal, I think that steal from the inbound, I think that just like took all the air out of him when Chris Paul, you know, flagrant one, depending who you ask, I guess, on the layup. I think that was just like so deflating. There was no way they were going to win the game after that. And again, for a late second rounder to do that is just it's just unbelievable. And I can't talk more highly about this Pelicans team. Yeah,
after the F1 drive to survive, it felt like even Chris Paul was mainly in the game, which he never does.
Yeah.
Monty Williams came out after the game and brought up the difference in free throw attempts between the two teams. I didn't feel like it was poorly, officiated. I don't think it was unfair, but 42 free throws to 15 is kind of, you can't really argue with that.
Yeah.
Because everything he brought up was true. It was a really physical game, so how does one team end up with three times the amount of free throws than the other?
Yeah, okay, well, this is good because I kind of want to talk about the specifics of like how the Suns played as well. I mean, I think they weren't attacking the basket anywhere near as much as we were. Like, no one was really getting inside except for Aiden McGee. I meant to pull it up. I just remembered I was compiling all stats for this episode, and this was the one I couldn't remember. I wanted to see what they've shot over the last 3 games because I assure you it's like 80% between Aiden and McGee. Like...
Oh, from the field or the line?
From the field.
Yeah, right.
Like, they've just been... They just... Like, we're not making it difficult for either of them to get a shot at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
You know, like, Valanciunas isn't fouling Ayton. He's just letting him score.
Yeah, well, that yesterday's game combined 18 of 21 shooting from Ayton and McGee.
Nuts.
Which would actually suggest that they're not getting fouled.
And also, 36 points between them is... Or it would be 36. I don't think
37.
37. So there's 1 free throw in there.
No, it was a 3-pointer from JaVale McGee. No. It was 1 of 2 for Ayton from the line.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But I think just generally, like the Suns, like they didn't look like they wanted to attack the paint. You know, like Mikal Bridges can be such a good like slasher penetrator, and I reckon he got to the rim like 3 times, maybe. Cam Johnson was jump shots only, and he was either nothing but net or airballing them. And Chris Paul, like we were doing a really, really good job of denying him by just like we're doing the nicest defensive move in the fourth in particular. Where like we double CP3 on the pick and roll, and then the help would come straight over to like the big man, to Aiden or McGee, and Jose got 1 steal off of it. And then CJ almost got a steal, and then it ended with an Aiden dunk. But you know, it was the right action. It's like, how do you take Chris Paul out of his like best offensive move? Is like double him immediately and then deny the center of the ball. So I can understand why Chris Paul took how many shots did he take?
8.
Like we were doing a good job, but also I think you do have to take more than 8 shots when your best player is sitting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you think Devin Booker's the best player?
Sorry, but you're like your first option. Yeah.
It's interesting because they've got this blueprint that is just so. It's just so good, and there's teams. One of them that didn't make the playoffs that we're not going to talk about. But like, if you're a guy in their mid-20s, being Devin Booker or someone else, can just ride the ship the first 3 quarters or 3.5 quarters, then they can either finish the game as well, or you have CP3, who's like an all-timer, first ballot Hall of Famer, much like another player, to just win the game at the end of to win the game in the last quarter.
Yeah.
Because that's what CP3 has shown he can do, and that's what Devin Booker has shown he can just drive the ship all game, all game if he needs to, and then CP3 can help in the last quarter. And God, I think Chuck's right. I think Chuck's right that CP3 is just old and he can't do it every game anymore.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you have a chance to win the series?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you win the series?
I don't. Okay. I think Phoenix will. I think they'll. I think you could very genuinely go to 7.
I do as well.
And I think because we have their number and we know how to beat them, and I don't know what they do to fix. I don't know. It's not like I don't know what they do to beat us. What they do to beat us is just shoot better.
Yeah.
And that could just happen so easily. They could just so easily shoot 50% from 3 next game because they are that sort of team. But I don't know what if I'm the Phoenix Suns. I don't know what I'm. If I'm Monty Williams, I don't know what I'm telling them before the next game. Because I don't think they really did that much wrong. We were just defending the ever-living hell out of them. We had sort of an answer for every offensive option. The ones that we didn't, we just let them get buckets, whether or not that's the right decision. But not letting JV get in foul trouble by contesting an Ayton jumper that's definitely going to go in. That might actually be a wise decision.
Yeah.
And whether that's JV's effort or Willie Green is being look, just don't jump. When Ayton shoots, just let him.
Yeah.
And let's just hope that it rims out. Either way, I think there's not really an answer for Monty Williams there. That being said, look, we don't have anywhere near the offensive arsenal of the Phoenix Suns. And if BI has an off game, CJ kind of had an off game, but he picked the absolute best time to do it when there were 7 other guys having a good game on our side. But yeah, if Brandon Ingram's scored more than 30 points in the last 3 games. First Pelican to ever do it in the playoffs. And if he doesn't do that, there's going to be a huge drop off in our offense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the Suns move. Not that I'm suggesting this, but it might actually be playing Aaron Holiday instead of campaign, or playing Aaron Holiday more minutes. It is pretty crazy to go. It is very
Mm.
opportunistic in the 2 minutes you get to score 7 points, not miss, and get 2 assists.
Yeah.
That's that's as perfect as 2 minutes can go.
Yeah.
In a basketball game, and I think that the Suns just need more willingness from either Johnson or Bridges. Crowder's not going to do it. Crowder's not going to do that. But Johnson or Bridges really need to get to the cup a couple of times each. Maybe if they just both make it their goal to be okay, once this quarter, every quarter, I'm just going to try and drive.
I agree.
I get a turnover. I don't actually give a fuck if I get a turnover.
Yeah.
I'll be more ready to for the next opportunity I have next quarter.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Because, like I said before, Cam Johnson he was not getting to the rim. And he wasn't even thinking about it. But we know he can. And, we don't have someone who's going to block you at the rim, really. So, the worst thing that happens is, you get stripped by one of our, all defensive first team caliber players. Or you get an easy bucket and you sort of assert yourself into the game more. And I think that's it. They weren't asserting themselves. Again, I'm really not trying to discount us. This episode, I'm not going to try and do that. But we were the 9 seed, basically.
Yeah.
We were a, 36 and 46 team. You should be able to assert yourself into the game a bit more than they were.
Yep. Well, I actually see you guys. I see the timeline, the reality that we're in, I see the potential for you guys to make it to the second round. I don't think it's likely, but I think the door is open for it. And I know that that's not really a take I'm making right now, but it'll make it will make sense in a little bit.
Okay.
It contrasts another team.
Right, okay.
But I don't want to give away which team that is yet, so I'll let you pick the next series.
Okay, well, just before we move on,
Okay.
one more thing. Herb Jones.
Shake and bake.
Do you think he's legit? Like, is this an actual all defensive guy in your eyes?
Herb Jones legit? Let's talk about it. I don't know. I'll come out and be the first to say it. I'm not really following all defensive first team conversations throughout the season. The first time I thought about the all defensive first team before they released it was when Tony Allen started chanting first team all defense a couple of years ago when he was playing for Memphis. I think that
I don't think he's going to make it this year. That's just like in the future, you know.
I think that great defenders are usually between you could probably shave 4 years off your prime for when you're a great defender. So if your prime is 26 to 31, let's say your prime defensive will be 22 to 26. Mm-hmm. If he can do this at 19 and 20, then he's already 2 or 3 years ahead.
He is 23.
No shit.
Because he was a senior. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 23 years old.
Oh,
so
it shows how much I know.
I mean, yeah, it is that classic thing where it's like he's a rookie. It's like no, he was one of the best defenders in his college conference for 4 years.
Yeah. Well, he's right in the guts of his defensive prime.
No, I like that. Yeah, I just don't see. Man, I'm gonna be real homerish here. I just don't see the weaknesses in his defensive game at all.
Yeah, no, neither do I.
Nah.
Did he block 2 3-pointers yesterday?
3.
He blocked 3 yesterday.
3. He got 3 blocks and they're all on 3-point attempts.
Wow, bro. Wow.
And I like the one on Bridges. He didn't even rotate over to him. He was guarding CP3, and then he went through the screen. CP3 kicked it out to the corner. Herb stepped in front of Devontae Graham, who was on Bridges, and blocked his shot. It wasn't even remotely his ball. It wasn't even remotely his man.
If I'm a superstar, man, if I'm Chungus McGee, and this New Orleans team has CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, this defender now in Herb Jones, and a pretty spacey center. I mean, I don't know how his 3-point percentage looked at the end of the season, but JV was above 50% for most. First. Oh, your 1 and 12 start. What situation do you want if you're a superstar? If it's not a great wing defender, 2 great scorers and creators that can hit you up for lobs, and then a spacey center. What situation do you want?
Yeah, he has to come back. I think it would be ludicrous for him to be I still don't like the situation in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Because it's oh man, sorry, I just have so much New Orleans stuff to talk about today.
We can talk about it.
The other thing I wanted to compare it to is I think how Minnesota fans must be feeling now. When Minnesota last made the playoffs, what was it, 2019, 2018 with Jimmy Butler?
Oh, yeah.
2018?
Oh, wait, no. Did they make it?
Yeah, they did. They made the 8th seed, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a Minnesota fan on the line being the 2018 playoffs, it didn't feel good. That team that had this awful stank about it. Nobody got along. They were really good players and they played their way into the playoffs. Whereas this Minnesota team, I mean, fuck, as we've seen from their shenanigans when they won the play-in game, they're playing with a real connection, and they've all really bought into the team. And I feel this New Orleans team is the same as it's the same situation if you compare it to the AD, Rondo, Boogie, Drew team, where it's you've got all these great basketball players. They're putting together some really good play, but there had to be clashing personalities there.
Yeah.
There's 2 of the league's biggest head cases. Yeah. And then there's one of the league's biggest wimps. And then there's Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that there wasn't this sense of camaraderie.
Yeah.
When they made the playoffs that there is here. And I think man, Zion, if you don't look at that and want to come back and play with us, then go have fun in New York, man. It's gonna be so bad.
Yeah, and you obviously still get a great cachet for him.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, I would love, I want Zion to stay. I want to keep Zion, but if we're doing this without him and without the assets that he would bring, and without the lottery pick we're gonna get next year, then fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
But let's move to another series.
All right, cool. Well, should we talk about the first elimination of the playoffs?
Yeah. I would really like to. Now, I would like to just start by saying one thing about the Nets getting swept to the Celtics, and this is just to address all of the Durant slander. Durant haters, shut the fuck up. Do you know how good you have to be for all of this noise to be made about you over one series? Do you know, oh fuck, just the idea that we can criticize what KD's done after everything else he's proved is just fucking crazy. And that's all the time I'm going to spend talking about KD.
The people who are he was a passenger on the Warriors, championships, blah, blah, blah. I was just looking at his playoff numbers. He, apart from this series and his first series, when in his third season against the Lakers, against Kobe Bryant, he's basically averaged 30 or above, in every single playoffs. So, I don't know. Scoring 30 points a game, no passenger does that.
Yeah.
On your way to a championship, on your way to 2 championships. But more so, look at what he fucking did in OKC every single year of his career. This is the second time, again, that Lakers series, that he hasn't gotten out of the first round. He's been to 4 finals, countless conference finals, and he's performed in every single one of them. He really hasn't performed in this series. He hasn't been good. It's his worst numbers by far. Shooting his worst field goal percentage, turning the ball over more than 5 times a game, shit like that. But yeah, I don't think you'd look at this series and go, oh yeah, this changes KD's legacy in any way.
I think that this has made way for a great what if.
Right.
What if Brooklyn won game 1?
Damn.
Because they were up with a second to go.
Yeah.
And then, actually, if we are going to criticize KD for something, that open layup for Jaylen Brown was kind of off KD just falling asleep for a second, watching Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
What he thought was going to be an attempted 3. Yeah, what if they won game 1?
Yeah. Well,
then they're down 2-1 going to game 4. Maybe Ben Simmons doesn't have a sore back.
Oh no, 100%. 100%. If they were 2-1, Ben Simmons doesn't have a sore back.
Yeah.
And how much do they lose every game by? 1, 7, 6, and 3, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, they didn't feel like they deserved to win any of the last 3 games.
Yeah.
At all.
I kept trying to search how much time they spent in front in the series, and they don't track that. I think that's only 2K.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find
time in the lead.
Yeah, time in the lead. Unless I'm missing something.
Man, 2K's actually got some mad stats. When you're in that box score post game, it's like, oh, shit, I really went off in the third quarter.
They've got largest lead, but they don't have time in front.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Oh, they do. You could figure it out. They've got some sort of worm, but of course it's as horrible as they could have possibly made it.
Well, I want to say that they were almost. I want to say they weren't in front at all in game 4.
They weren't.
No.
Which is really bad.
Look, I think the more pressing issue at hand is Steve Nash.
Oh, Mr. Nash.
Mr. Nash. What have you done to this team? What haven't you done to this team? Because it feels like a complete inaction in coaching.
Yeah.
I've been racking my brain over the last 2 seasons of what was a Nash master coaching stroke. Or as Sean Carroll had said to me yesterday, a coaching stroke. And I cannot come up with a single thing. He's messed around with lineups. He's played KD at the 5. He's moved KD back down to the 3. But I don't think any of that has mattered if they've won the game or not. And I think when they've now come up against just obviously the best defensive team in the league, so well drilled, just so in tune with each other. And he can't even run a fucking offensive play.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't know what to do. they're just these like stilted actions or these like bad ISOs that lead to Bruce Brown getting the ball with 3.5 seconds left and having to like drive to the cup. And, you know, Bruce Brown deserves better than that.
Bruce Brown seems to be in the position to shoot a floater every possession, and it seems like he's never trained it.
Yeah.
Like, he's always so shocked to be in that scenario.
Yeah.
Last year, the Nets beat who in the first round?
Boston, wasn't
The
it?
Celtics.
Yeah.
Now, this is crazy. Their starting lineup is actually crazy. Kemba, Marcus Smart, Evan Fournier, Jason Tatum, Tristan Thompson.
Oh my god.
First, side note, does it not feel like Kemba's been in New York for more than one season? It feels like he's been in New York a long time.
You know why? It's because he's been shut down and unshut down like multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's like 3 bad basketball players there.
Yeah. Like, forget about just bad defenders, bad basketball players. And now Nash has 2 playoffs to be judged on. And last year they beat the Celtics, so it was a series win, so you know, everyone looks good when you win. And then Kyrie and Harden went down, and they were in a really good position when KD and when Kyrie went down against the Bucks, but then they lost to the Bucks. And now this year, it shows how reliant he just is on star power. And the last season, he could be like, all right, well, we lost this player and we lost this player. We just had to go through KD, and then KD was amazing. But now it's just kind of that it wouldn't have made a difference with and without Kyrie, Harden. Like, with or without availability, this is just how he coaches.
Yeah.
And Boston's the number 1 D in the league. And everyone knows that. It's because it's a stat. Their field goal percentage against is the lowest in the league.
Yeah.
And their action is just so deliberate. It's like Nicholas Claxton will be at the top of the key looking for a handoff with the same guy over and over again. Or Andre Drummond, doesn't matter, just this non-threat looking for a handoff while the other 3 players are just standing still. And like, how does their offense have no complexity to it? Like, there is it's not dynamic in the slightest. There's no off-ball movement. And Steve Nash is a two-time MVP for just his offense and his ability to run a pick and roll and get all these assists and score really efficiently. And like, if you're gonna be bad defensively, you're gonna be bad defensively as Steve Nash. But like, how's your offense so stagnant as well?
Yeah, and like, you compare it to Boston, who like every play that they'd run in this series had like so many wrinkles, you know. And I mean, it is their roster. Like, they have a really capable offensive roster. I think Grant Williams has been so good in this series as like shooting the ball in particular. But like, there was this one play, I think it was like a smart Tatum pick and roll, and like Brown was on one corner, Grant Williams was on the other corner, Robert Williams was like in the dunker spot, and like Tatum got on the short roll and was like, fuck, he could do anything right now. Like, he could like scoop it into Robert Williams, he could lob it up to Robert Williams, he could like take a floater himself, he could take the defender off the dribble, he could kick it out to either corner. And then, you know, like Marcus Smart is cutting in behind him as well. And it's just like, no Nets play looked like that at all.
One did. One did. It was a patty 3 at the end of the first or second quarter in game 3, where it was like, there was like 3 consecutive passes.
From 4 games.
Yeah, no, because I remember I messaged the chat. I was like, that was the first time the Nets looked like they were playing like competitive fucking offense this entire time. And it ended up in an open patty 3. But like, other than that, there was so many 1 pass, 0 pass, 2 pass possessions.
And that pass, like with 5 seconds left on the clock, and it's like, what do you fucking expect is going to happen? And like, I think you have to put that on Kyrie. You don't have to put it on them, but Kyrie and KD should know better than, all right, you're not getting the look on the ISO you want. Like, you can't pass it to Bruce Brown. You can't pass it to Seth Curry with 5 seconds left. Like, that's not fair. They're just going to turn over the ball for you.
Yeah, they deserve better, as you said.
Yeah, like, you know, KD, 5 turnovers a game, but how many times did he pass to Bruce Brown at the end of the shot clock? And, yeah, I think... no, that's my final point on that.
I also think that... I got 2 final points. KD and Kyrie need a playmaker, which Ben Simmons would be. Oh, this is not one of those 2 points, but Dragic played so well.
Yeah. He had that like 5 minutes in the fourth quarter where it was like, oh man, they might come back and win this.
Yeah.
But like, not that they looked like they deserved to do it all game long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, that they need a playmaker that Simmons will be if he plays.
Oh my god.
And there were occasions where the Celtics were doubling KD off ball, like when he was off the ball. And if you can't capitalize on that, you have to be so unprepared. Like you have to be a poorly drilled team to not capitalize when you're 4-on-3, but the double isn't on ball.
Yeah, yeah. There was one again. This was just a great game where like the Nets would do something wrong and then Boston would do the same thing right. Like, there was one play where I think they were doubling Jaylen Brown over like on the left wing, and then it was like every other player was like, "Oh, I need to get to the 3-point line because we're gonna start like kicking it around," and they did that and they got an open three. But it had like there were like 5 passes or something like that. But everyone was so prepared for it. It's like everyone's feet were already set and they were just like, bang. Actually, I had heaps more points on this.
Yeah, well, we can talk about all of them. We keep saying it like we're pressed for time. It's our pod.
You're right. It's just the cameraman's giving me the eyes, to wrap it up. I think the gulf between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum as a duo and KD and Kyrie isn't as big as it seems. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are like championship winners and they're fucking incredible basketball players and they still are. But like Tatum was getting whatever shot he liked as well. I'm not saying he is as good as Kevin Durant, obviously, on offense, but they were both just not that. I thought it was just going to be this thing where KD and Kyrie just outscored them every single game and made them look like what they are, like the younger players, the less experienced, the less talented players. But like the golf just didn't feel there for me. And then when you fucking partner that with the fact that they're both like great defenders as well, it's like, no wonder Boston wants to hold on to these guys. Like no wonder they value these guys as a duo when you can like rent a superstar 3 times, lose one of them, and like they still can't pull off a win for you. Boston are also going into the second round with just a full tank of gas. And they've got this like, to steal Monty Williams' word of the playoffs, they've got this disposition as if they're gonna win the ring. They're on just such a mission, and everyone is just so into it. Like all of their players are so involved. They shoot with so much confidence. Fucking so sick of Al Horford, but he's just like embracing everyone. Like he's leading so well. They're starting Tice and Horford, and it looks great. Yeah.
And then like Robert Williams will probably be starting. Oh, actually, I reckon you just fucking take it easy with Robert Williams because like they've shown how good they can be without him.
Yeah.
And you don't want him to risk another injury, which is so possible. With just fucking like it's kind of his strength of his vertical jump is like his weakness in potential injury. But they've just got this energy about them that's like we're here to win the ring.
100%. Who will they have? They'll have Bucks or Bulls.
They'll have the Bucks.
They'll have the Bucks. Which I think I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but like that's the matchup that's going to be the toughest for them. I think en route to the finals.
Well, that'd be en route to the conference finals.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like I'd have more confidence in them beating Miami than the Bucks.
Oh yeah.
Just on like the way they match up. But on the other hand, this series proved that like they didn't need like that one guy to match up with KD. And maybe then they don't need that one guy to match up with Giannis. Maybe like their D is good enough that they can sort of limit him at least in other ways.
Yeah, and also this series, man, like look at how important coaching is in winning a playoff series and like seeing the chess match. Bucks are up 3-1 against the Bulls. Surely they finished in 5.
You're right. I was thinking that they were going to get the Philly or Toronto matchup, and I mean, Bill Simmons would be licking his lips in that in that scenario, because a tired Philadelphia or a kind of tired Toronto Raptors would just be like, God, it would be dinner.
Have you kept up with Toronto's 2 wins?
I've watched the highlights of both. I haven't watched them fully.
Yeah. Shit, man.
Yeah.
I fucking to speak about like the stark contrast to like the championship energy that the Celtics have. It's Philadelphia 76ers. And now I think they'll probably win the series still. But I think what they've shown in games 4 and 5 is that they're not going to win the ring. Which they looked like the complete opposite in games 1, 2, and 3.
How many years in a row has this happened? Like, oh man, what is it? What is it with this team? Like, Embiid looked like he'd finally kicked the bad juju, and then like in this game in particular, it was like, I don't think I've seen a worse defensive game from Embiid. Like he wasn't paying any attention to the rim. He wasn't like contesting any shots. Precious Achiuwa was just going at him, like possession after possession after possession, out rebounding him, and like that's why do that. Like you know, if you're only going to score 20 points on the other end, like put in a good defensive effort. You're one of the best. You're literally one of the best defensive centers in the league.
There was like this stretch at the end of the first half where the Raptors were just getting layup after layup after layup. And then there was this point with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter where the Sixers got a pretty big bucket, and then the crowd got really into it. And what happened? The Raptors came down. I can't remember who had the ball, but they just walked around Harden. Embiid comes to no man's land, doesn't stop the ball or the guy in the dunker spot, alley-oop, and just completely took the crowd out of the game in like the first moment they were kind of back into the game. But Harden is 9 of 28 in the 2 losses, 4 of 14 from downtown, 16 assists and 9 turnovers. And man, you're not allowed to be the one that fluctuates. If you're the 32-year-old former MVP that's on 44 mil, you can't be the one that fluctuates. Did you want to jump in?
Well, I think he just like he looked like he gave a shit at the beginning of this series, and it was like, oh, this is great. Because fuck it, we all want Harden to give a shit. We all want to see Harden like playing his best basketball, and it's just like it just dropped off again. It's like, what the hell is going on? Like, are you actually on drugs or something? Like,
God, man, are you on drugs or something?
Like, you can't have like mood swings in the middle of a playoff series where you're like, actually, I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
and that's just what it looks like. Like, I don't know if it could be something else, if it's fitness or whatever, but it actually looks like he just decides he doesn't care about the game anymore. Yeah,
it absolutely looks like that.
Yeah.
And now I hate to do this to the Warriors. I actually hate to do it to them, but the scoring comparison is just so linear. Steph and Joel is the superstar. Clay and Harden, the star. Wiggins and Harris is the fourth option. And then the babies in... who am I doing
Maxey
first?
and Poole.
Poole and Maxey. I was doing Warriors first.
Oh.
Poole and Maxey. But the difference is that Poole fluctuates for the Warriors. Whereas with the 76ers, Harden fluctuates, which then in turn makes Maxey fluctuate. Because Maxey has to be the youngest on the team. Or maybe, let's say, the least experienced and the most immature. Just by the way it works.
Yeah.
It can't be Harden. Harden can't like be at one game and not at the other game.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Warriors core shows up every game, and I think you can live with the loss if Clay and Steph both drop 30 plus. Because it would take something incredible from their opponents, as I wrote down, which it did. But even Embiid shot below 50% in these 2 losses and had 9 turnovers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if your stars aren't gonna just like show up, oh fuck. Now I'm sounding like first aid. But if they're not gonna like provide that consistent at least 25 points, then you can't expect the subsidiary pieces to win you 16 games.
Yeah, and again, you know, I hate to make the comparison to the Warriors, but Steph Curry, the best teammate on earth, like you would never. Playing with Harden and watching him not give a shit as like a rookie or a second year or just any sort of young inexperienced player, you'd be like, oh fuck, like you'd either start to not give a shit or you'd be like, why the fuck isn't he giving a shit? And you'd this sort of discontent brews between you. Steph Curry never looks unhappy on the basketball court,
Yeah.
so why would you ever be unhappy on the
Yeah.
basketball court?
Yeah,
You
true.
know? Like, it's this infectious desire to play that I think needs to come from your vets. And hey, that's kind of a big like intangible of the CJ trade for the Pels has been like, we've got this 29, 30-year-old guy, this vet in the league, and he really, really wants to play basketball with you. Like, he really wants to be here with the rest of the roster playing with you. And I think every young player looks at that and is like, wow, I want to win this game now. Like, I don't care that we've got 45 losses. Like, we're going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, this looks like it could go Toronto's way still. Like, they're actually not dead.
Well,
It could be the first ever 3-0 comeback.
I wanted to talk about the good that Toronto has done.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we have just shat all over Philadelphia.
Like, as we should, though.
And like, fuck it, Philly fans, best fans in the league. What? You're fucking leaving with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Most passionate fans. I hate when Koshi comes out and defends the Port Adelaide fans and calls them passionate. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not.
But the Toronto Raptors, I feel like for the first 3 games of this series, they kind of forgot who they were. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. In these last 2 games, it's like they've all remembered that they're like athletic, 6'8", 7-foot wingspan dudes. And have just been like, oh, wow, well, I'll just like walk around Tyrese Maxey then. Like, there's nothing he can do to defend me. There were so many in the first quarter. Scotty Barnes was just like, he was just charging into the key.
Yeah.
And he, with the handles and the passing ability for his size and his experience, like the fact that he wasn't sort of leaning on that more early in the series, I think that shows why it looked like Philadelphia were going to dominate so much early in this series. But it's like all these players have just remembered their physicality. I think there's probably like 7 guys who are faster and more agile than anyone on the Philadelphia 76ers. And then have like the size to match up with that. And it was just so evident in this game. They were just, they were in 5th gear the entire time. There was so many of those nice like short lobs, from someone like attacking Embiid and then someone like in the dunker's spot, which were just like, I was just so physical. It was such like a physical offense from Toronto, I thought.
Yeah. Now, I remember, I just had to look it up to cross-reference, but I remember Marv Albert was losing his mind the last few years of his commentating career.
He sure was.
But I remember there was this one All-Star game where he kept mucking up Vucevic and Jokic. And watching it, I was like, I didn't even look back. I was like, God, you keep making this mistake. One of the commentators in this Raptors game said, great finish by Anunoby. And I was like, are you sure that wasn't Scotty Barnes? But then I looked back because I was like, it really could be either of them. And yeah, their identity is coming back through. Yeah. The length, everything that brought them to the 5th seed has come through in the last 2 games. Yeah. And like Boucher, I've seen him get knocked over and just eaten by Embiid. But he looks so confident, like getting knocked over, helping defensively, shooting his trebuchet. And then him and Precious finishing on the other end. Like, okay, cool, Embiid's going to feast on us. But let's make him defend for the whole time that he's on the court as well.
Exactly.
And yeah, they were like, I think, didn't Nick Nurse say it? Oh, no. Michael Malone said it about the Nuggets. But it kind of applies to the Raptors as well. Like, being down 3-0, we're not dead yet. Like, we're still alive. We're still alive. And they're still alive. I honestly reckon they could win. I honestly reckon they could.
So nuts.
Do you reckon Game 6 is in Toronto?
Oh, my God. They could make it 3-3 without a doubt.
I think 3-3 is likely.
Yeah, and then like Philly just need to pull their fingers out their assholes. And, because that would just be tragic. I think that would just be an awful end to the Philadelphia season. I feel like that goes without saying, but it would just be like all the concerns everyone had at the Harden trade were right.
Yeah. Man, because if it does go to 7, that'll be on the back of not only a 3-game losing streak for the Sixers, but a 3-game winning streak for the Raptors.
Yeah.
And that momentum, can you turn that around?
No. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean that's I feel like that's what drove Denver into winning, into making those 3-1 comebacks. Was like all the momentum was with them. It was just so hard to stop. Fred VanVleet, is he out for the next game? He was out for this game.
Oh, I don't know if he's out for the next game, but I was looking to see if he was out both games. He was +3 in his 15 minutes in game 4. Because I was trying to be like, are they better without him? Oh, like, no. Like, just his scoring ability.
Yeah, but because Gary Trent was like the only guard, whenever he sat, they were just so scary. Like, and it wasn't even like, oh, there's too many bigs on the floor. It's like Scotty Barnes is running the point like an absolute point guard. So I think they should sit Freddie and Gary like often together. Not that their value isn't there, because it definitely is. And then like Gary Trent was coming on and he was just sinking shots. Sort of in like a different flow of the offense to everyone else. Like they'd sort of be like, all right, Philly would be like, all right, we kind of know we're kind of dealing with the big guys getting inside, and then he'd just come in and sink a couple of jumpers. So I think they should sit them together is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think if you go by the matchup, Toronto have looked its most dangerous with the length.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I really love how gimmicky Nick Nurse gets, because the last quarter they just attacked Maxey non-stop, like non-stop, like non-stop, like it would have been boring. As an impartial viewer, if I was watching it live, because I caught up on it. But watching it live, I would have been like, God, this is like shit basketball. And like there is such a clear thing that Doc Rivers has to do, and it's take off Tyrese Maxey, because the Raptors won and the 76ers lost this game in a few patches, and that was one of them for sure. No, definitely.
Shall we move on? Did you want to talk about one more series?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about two more series. Just one. Just one. The Utah Jazz, baby.
What? You want to talk about that?
We got to talk about the Jazz. So they lost 77 to 102. Of the 1,230 games played this season, there have been 2,460 final scores, because two teams play every game. To mansplain sports. Of those 2,460 final scores, how many were lower than 77?
Oh my God. I want to say 1.
Okay, now if anyone wants to play along,
2.
If anyone wants to play along with the trivia, I suggest pausing now. I'm going to share it in 3, 2, 1. Okay. It's not 1 or 2, but 3.
Okay.
3 final scores out of 2,460 were more dismal, more sad than the Jazz's L. And we have to go back 1,260 sleeps, or 1,255. For the last time, the Jazz dropped below 77 points.
Oh, really?
Yep, 68 points they dropped in a 50-point loss to the Mavericks. Would you believe?
Oh.
And the last time that game was 5 months before we became mates.
Wow!
Now, I say all of this to set up my 2 questions. Do you think Utah has any chance of winning Game 6? Does Donovan Mitchell play Game 6?
See, this is the thing, because they actually looks good in Game 4. Not good, but like they beat the Mavericks pretty fair and square. They capitalized in particular on some like fourth quarter boo-boos, missing those free throws. But then this was just like, where was any of that? Where did any of that go? Did you use it all up in Game 4? Because they couldn't buy a shot. Their offense was like stale as a biscuit. But more so the Mavs were just like attacking them. Like they couldn't defend on the perimeter, and then the number of times Luka would like just muscle past Gobert.
Yeah.
The best interior defender in the league, you say.
And I do say that.
And you do say that. And get a bucket was like embarrassing. There was this one fucking... It was just like the worst defended play. Jalen Brunson somehow ended up like, out of steps on his pivot foot with his back to the basket. I think it was on Bogdanovic. And it was like... everyone was just standing on the perimeter watching him like jab step, and then like fade away and sink this like 10-footer. It's like, fucking go help him. Like, go... There is a man in the paint with the basketball right now. You need to go stop him from getting a bucket. And they just stand around like sitting ducks and let all this shit happen to them.
Yeah.
And so no, I don't think they can win Game 6.
Yeah, and that was whatever I was talking about before about like, I don't say this. I find is impossible.
Yeah.
I think the Jazz are done. I think that they're just like full on done. And yeah, I think the rebuild will happen, or it will probably be a retool more than a rebuild. Will happen this off season.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know that or hear about or read about the fact that what's his name? Julius Randle and 2 Knicks front office guys were at the Jazz game 1, sitting courtside. Yeah. Which left an uneasy feeling in Jazz officials. Jazz officials said that they left them feeling uneasy.
That's so bad because that means that like Randall isn't getting traded. Like, whoever the Knicks want, like, has to go play with Julius Randle.
Oh my god.
Although, I don't know. A Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell dribble handoff. I'm interested to see it.
Oh, actually, just keep him in the same spot.
Yeah.
Like, if they make the playoffs, then I can learn about what they did in the regular season. But, like, if Donovan Mitchell and Julius Randle are playing for the Knicks, I don't think that's any reason to turn on the Knicks game.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, there'll be 19 of them on national TV next year.
Actually?
I guess so. Oh, dear. Yeah. This series, I feel like Game 1, no Luka. Game 2 and 3, obviously the Mavs won. Game 4, okay, the Jazz might have played a little bit well. But there's been no reason to watch this series.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, what did they win? What did they win on? They won on a Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert hooker. Like, what was it? The 3rd time he passed him this season or something, and it won them a playoff game.
Yeah, and two missed Dwight Powell free throws, and a bunch of other fucking boo-boos. Yeah, hopeless.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I had something else to say about this series, but it's not. Oh, yeah, it's crazy that Dallas's like game plan against his great defensive team was to make all 5 players defend.
Yeah, and
it's just like so simple. You weren't ready for that. Like, also Quinn Snyder must be a great coach.
Yeah. And what did Draymond Green tweeted today? He was like, damn, the commentator's saying, like, the Jazz are giving up a lot of points in the paint. You don't say.
Good on him.
It was so funny. And it's like, yeah, you shouldn't be, like, giving up more points in the paint than, like, an average NBA team is giving up the way you're built. But fucking, of course you are, because you are, like, you're not a playoff team.
Yeah. 2 things that maybe we should touch on, potentially. Ja won MIP. It's official. Reggie Miller's tweet about Ben Simmons.
Oh my god. Well, actually, I wanted to go back to the Brooklyn Boston series in like a looking forward way. First thing, Ben Simmons. What's the go? Does he ever play for Brooklyn? Like, fuck. Is that? Do you think that is just one? Do you believe that he sat out Game 4 because they were 3-0 down and he didn't see them winning? And 2, if that is true, is that just like the most abysmal thing you can do?
3-0 down, I think it would have been him and the team.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just him. But, like, fucking play.
Insist upon it. Steve Nash, I insist that I play today.
I want Steve Nash in like the training room, the training press conference, to be like, Ben Simmons was in my office insisting upon it. Insist upon it. Hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah, I think. Oh fuck, man. Why would you not want to play basketball? Why would you not want to play? It's so much fun. You would know you're an NBA player. Just fucking play. Well, you're not. Don't. Are you worried about the money? You already locked up the contract.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to parrot Stephen A. But you know, when he was saying, he's like, you know, he gave up on LSU, he gave up on the 76ers, and now he's given up on the Brooklyn Nets. It's kind of hard to argue with it. Like, you know, I've always wanted to give Ben Simmons the benefit of the doubt. This season, I threw that to the wind along with caution. But like, yeah, now it looks like you already are like playing your stupid fucking publicity game with a team that you haven't even stepped on the court for.
Yeah. I want to read the Stephen A. quote about it because it's just he's actually an artist. Stephen A. Let me just highlight it. Simmons might be the weakest, most pathetic excuse of an athlete we've ever seen, not just in American history, but in the history of sports. My God, what a line. And you know what? It's impossible to talk about that.
In the history of sports.
Like, how do you argue or talk about that? It's just such a good quote.
Man. Yeah, that's it. That's what he does, isn't it? He puts up these like impenetrable statements. They don't mean anything. You can't argue with it at all.
You have to see he does a wheel of takes on Jimmy Fallon. Oh my God. He's actually just... you can't look at him as a journalist. He's an entertainer.
My final thing, tongue firmly planted in cheek for this one.
Okay.
You can't beat him, join him. Kyrie to the Boston Celtics next year.
Nice.
No, KD, sorry.
Oh my God. No, I think Kyrie's better.
What would make it work would be Al Horford. He's got a
straight swap.
He's got a non-guaranteed year. Derek White and a couple of picks. The money works. Make it happen.
What if you throw in Jason Tatum and then throw... Oh, no. Fuck. No. I was thinking, could you get KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons to the Celtics?
Man, the most insufferable team in the league that would be. Put the Brooklyn Nets roster in Boston Celtics jerseys. Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, bloody hell, I'm excited to have a day off tomorrow and watch. You know, potentially a couple of these playoff series is just really fucking come to crunch time. You know.
Yeah. I'm excited for like the second round and beyond because I can't keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah, there's
uni.
A lot going
I'm back
on.
at uni tomorrow.
Oh, true.
So I'm gonna need like more 2 and 1 game days because I'm gonna watch all of them.
Well, we're playing
basketball.
We're playing tomorrow and Thursday, back to back. So our series could be over by Friday.
True.
Which is nuts because I feel like it's taken so long. Like last time we spoke, we'd just been thumped by them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And since then, we've won 2 games against the Phoenix Suns. So, boy, time flies in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Well.
Cool. I'll see you next week then.
Yeah. See you next week.